Hey folks, Pat here from DNS. This Madison area fishing report is current as of February 10th. Before we get started, I just wanted to touch on a thing I had somebody ask me to talk about around town here. You'll see a lot of folks put Christmas trees out on the ice. I guess the idea is there that they hope the trees sink and provide some fish habitat, maybe in there make them a secret fishing hole or something. This person was wondering about the legality of that. I'm certainly no lawyer, but I looked into it a little bit. The DNR does have a program called Fish Sticks for improving lake habitat, and you can down trees, you can put fish cribs out, and it is a permitted deal. The only caveat to this is that in order to obtain a permit, you need to be a landowner with shoreline access. So, of course, that's limiting to your average person. It also does work if you're a conservation group that wants to apply for the permit there, but you can't just go and drag a Christmas tree out on the ice and let it sit out there and hope it sinks. I guess essentially you're just littering there. But if you are a landowner and have some shoreline that you might want to improve fish habitat for, you can look into this Fish Sticks program on the DNR website. And looks like a pretty simple online permit process, and yeah, can improve fish habitat for on some of our local waters here. Otherwise, out on our front door, posters are getting a little thinner here as we move through ice fishery season, but this Saturday, tomorrow, the 11th, over on all Waukesha County lakes, they're running the Burnouts for Travis second annual Travis Blake Memorial Fishing Jamboree. So this is, looks like a pretty standard fishery fishing contest. Basket raffles, meat raffles, beer, music. Cool thing about this event is that all the proceeds go to benefit the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. So good cause. If you're into fisheries and like that scene, go give this one a look. It looks like a pretty cool event. Another thing just got these posters in this week, but looks like over to Stoughton at the VFW, they got the 20th annual hunting and fishing garage sale. That's March 5th, which is a little ways away, but I wanted to let folks know about it because if you're somebody who has a bunch of hunting and fishing gear and you want to get rid of it, you can rent a table and sell some of your stuff to folks that are looking to buy a bunch of stuff. So you can call Gene at the VFW over there in Stoughton, or Jim Torgerson, who's organizing the event. But I'll mention it again when we get closer to the date, but just wanted to bring it up in case you're looking to get rid of some of your stuff. Otherwise, moving on to the report, we had some warmer temps this week with some rain Monday night, and again, yesterday we had rain that turned into snow, leaving about 4 inches of snow on the ground. Looks like some perfect temps in the 30s on the way with some cold temps, so hopefully the ice holds on for a while. We do have good ice all around the chain, except on Lake Monona, which I'll talk about later. But folks are running ATVs pretty much everywhere now. We got, like I said, the snow we got last night, while it will insulate the ice from the warm temperatures, it's also going to keep it from making any more ice when we got the cold temperatures that come in at night. So I guess we'll call it probably a wash as far as ice thickness goes. Otherwise, mostly gills being caught shallow around the chain with a few crappies mixed in here and there. If you look for green weeds, you'll likely find fish, some decent tip-up action for pike and largemouth bass in shallow areas, and also still hearing about decent walleye action in a lot of those shallow areas at dusk and dawn. The perch bite on Kegonsa, Wabisa, and Monona has been spotty, but the perch bite out deep on Monona is still doing pretty good. So we'll just get into some detail here, though. Up here to Cherokee, we've got, I've been hearing about some reports of some gills actually being caught after a slow couple of weeks, but that action is spotty. A buddy of mine was up there on Tuesday and slammed him, and I went up Wednesday and struggled. So, it's definitely a hit or miss deal up here. There is still some decent action up there for tip-ups with pike and some largemouth bass. So it's always worth a look up there to Cherokee is what I tell people. Down here to 113, not much going on. A lot of ice down there still. Otherwise, out here on Mendota, good ice all around the lake still, 7 to 8 inches. So while the ice is in decent shape, there are some areas where I would use caution. Up here where the Yahar River dumps in, you got Mendota County Park. The launch there can be, with all the use it's been seeing, could be have some rough ice. Marshall Park, Spring Harbor, where the Willow dumps in here at University Bay, Tenney Park. Use caution in those areas, but like I said, mostly 7 or 8 inches of ice all across the lake. Um, and they are getting perch out here on the West Basin. That action has, I'd say, slowed a little bit, or the fish seem like they're a little more spread out. Haven't heard a lot off the East Basin, or the main basin, I guess you call it. But I know that there are folks chasing perch around out there. But I just haven't heard, and you know, action is spotty, but I just haven't heard any consistent bites out that way. Walleye bite around town's been good. Still hearing about fish being caught shallow near breaks. Also out on mid-lake humps, so Dunn's Bar, Second Point, Brearley Bar, I'm sorry, Commodore Bar, Brearley Bars. City Shoreline's been decent for walleyes. A lot of that action coming at dusk and dawn. Um, and pike action too. There's just a ton of pike in Mendota right now. So anywhere you can find 15 feet of water or less, some weeds and stuff, you're bound to find some pike out there. Down here to Lake Monona, I mentioned some sketchy ice, and I just want to go to here. This is a photo that Rick Kruger, aka RK Diver, posted on Lake Link. I'm sure you all know about Lake Link, and it's actually a photo from the Copernicus Sentinel-2 satellite from the European Space Agency, and this is a photo of Lake Monona from last week, judging by the amount of snow that's on the surface. But you can see here a lot of open water areas. So down here to Wickawack, aka Squaw over here, there's just a huge amount of open water here off Wildhaven, and also a lot of open water here where the Yahara dumps in. So, you know, it's been kind of an odd year. I don't personally remember seeing ice out here with this many holes, but apparently it did happen in 2003, according to Rick. But, you know, it's you're just going to want to be careful. Otherwise, I've heard, you know, decent ice in a lot of these other areas, 6 to 8 inches, and folks are getting perch. I do want to thank Rick for sending me this photo, and also thank him for his many very informative posts he posts on the Madison chain, on Lake Link and stuff like that. He's a great resource for anglers out there. But otherwise, around Monona, like I said, they're getting perch out here in the deep water. Those schools are moving fast, so they're hard to stay on top of if you do find them. But there are some good sized schools out there, from what I hear. Walleyes still being caught up shallow here and there. City Shoreline's been good. John Nolan, still hearing about a few out of Old Brick. But I guess the biggest news for Lake Monona is Monona Bay. Still is just a panfish factory. Lots of bluegills still coming out of Monona Bay in the triangles, and actually some more decent size ones I've heard about recently. Not as much sorting, but also the crappies have moved in. I think I mentioned that last week, but those fish will remain in here until ice out, and then through their spawning period. So that's always a great opportunity to get down if you're into catching crappies. Lake Winger's got a ton of tiny bluegills and perch. Heard about tip-up action improving over there, so some smallish pike, but great place to take kids over here to Mud Lake. I don't know what the access is like after we got the rain and snow yesterday, so it could be kind of sloppy coming in here off Terminal Drive. But up here to the dredge hole, they've been still getting good numbers of bluegills, some crappies suspended. I've seen a couple reports of some walleyes, perch, and some good numbers of pike in the shallow areas around the dredge hole. Over here to Lake Farm, of course, do be careful where the current comes out of here. And up here near Lake Farm, though, I haven't heard much in the way of panfish at all, but have heard about some decent pike action, some good action for walleyes in front of Babcock, down to Bible Camp down here. The Hog Island area has also produced some walleyes. And the main lake basin perch, I've heard some good reports, and I've heard some horrible reports. So a lot of lookers and no takers, but I have heard of some folks getting out and doing well. I got a tip about a good gill bite down here in the South Bay. I was down there Sunday walking around. I think I walked just over 4 miles and drilled over 40 holes, and I got skunked. So that's just how it goes with fishing. But I did find a lot of green weeds. I didn't find any fish, of course, but that area usually kind of turns on this time of year for gills. Down to Kegonsa, kind of the same deal as Wabisa. A lot of lookers in the way of perch in the main basin, but few takers. I've been hearing about a few walleyes coming off the state park area here. They had their fishery this last weekend. I never heard that anybody won the $10,000 or caught the $10,000 walleye, but I did hear some nice catches, some crappies that were weighed in, and bluegills, bass. Um, so yeah, some good fish to be caught in there, but the action down at Kegonsa is just traditionally spotty. On Lake Koshkonong, I haven't heard a lot coming out of here. Some small walleyes. Heard about some sketchy ice. Sounded like a half-inch ice with like 2 inches of water, and then thick ice below that. But that's not ever fun to walk on when you think you're going through every other step. But I have heard about some walleyes out there, smaller fish mostly. I would be careful around where the rock dumps in here. I haven't heard much in the way of the main river. It's been we had some cold weather that iced a lot of that up. Let's see, going up towards Beaver Dam here. Still hearing about some great walleye action up there, but size sounds like it's being a little bit of an issue. I think the size limit up there for walleyes is 18 inches. Did hear about some action up to the Prairie du Sac Dam. Some folks getting into some walleye and some sauger below the dam there. I'm not sure what the conditions are like after all the rain we got. Up to Lake Wisconsin, it's been a little tough up there from what I hear. The walleye bite's been kind of slow, and the fish that are being caught are short. Sounds like the fingers over here to Harmony Grove and Wayland's Grade have been action's been slow over there. I did hear a report about online about some crappie bite in Moon Valley, but haven't heard much about that personally. Of course, use caution in these current areas where the river is going to be moving a little more fast through there. Portage, Dells, haven't really heard much coming out of there. Castle Rock Lakes, all the reports I've heard have been slow. Folks really struggling out there. You do hear about the occasional walleye or some white bass being caught, I guess, but not a lot going on that way. Up to Petenwell, action's been better than on Castle Rock, but it also sounds like it's been slowing down a little bit up there. But walleye's still being caught off the channel, which meanders through here pretty heavily. So there's a lot of humps, a lot of flats, shallow flats that have been holding fish. I've been hearing about a lot of that action at dusk and dawn. Over to the Mississippi River, I've been hearing about some reports of some perch, but that action is really just going to start picking up here pretty great in the next few weeks. So, Stoddard, Genoa, DeSoto, all those areas hold some fantastic world-class, really, perch fishing over there. So if you feel like taking a trip, head over there. Can be pretty great. Over to Milwaukee, haven't heard a lot coming out of there. I know the rivers were locked up, but should be opened up. I don't think they got much snow over there much at all, but the rivers should be open-ish, but also maybe a little high the next couple of days with while that water drains out. I did hear about some folks fishing the harbors over here, but I don't know anything about ice conditions, so I'm not really recommending that. But it is a thing, and all up and down the East Coast over here, there's harbors in all your towns along the coast, and some good fish to be had over there. Otherwise, trout fishing around the area remains pretty good. I guess I'd give it a little break since the snow and runoff we had and rain we had yesterday. And as the snow melts, you're gonna have some of that cold runoff shutting some of the trout down. But some good opportunities for fish in deep holes and slow runs. Woolly buggers and nymphs I've mentioned a couple times. Running those, drifting those through a deeper holes can be very productive. It's hard to ignore the effectiveness of a pink squirrel. And if you're on the spinning side of things, tube jigs and things like that can work pretty good drifted through a deep hole. But slow and low is really the theme of winter fishing. But that being said, I have heard about some folks coming across some rising fish. So don't hesitate to keep a couple usually darker pattern, small dry flies in your box in the event you run into a hatch. But and of course, it is the early catch and release season, so it's all catch and release, and only artificial lures can be used this time of year. I guess that does it for the report. Appreciate you tuning in, and good luck out there. Don't forget to comment below if you have any reports you'd like to note, or heaves around town, or any news at all about fishing in the area. We'd love to hear it. Again, thanks for tuning in and good luck out there.